Thanks, Joan Collins. It looks like we've been deserted tonight in relation to the debate. First of all, I want to concur with Deputy Connolly in the response the Minister gave us. I think it's an insult, and it's not just an insult to me, it's an insult to women in this country. First of all, may I say that I believe the Mulvey Agreement in setting up a legal entity, a legal framework, has actually spurred the religious Sisters of Charity to continue on the vein that they have continued on. It was co-location, now it's changed to full integration. That's what the Sisters of Charity and their holding groups are looking for. We can see that the bugbear is still there, and the minutes of the 29th of October 2021, the HSE board meeting, the board raised concerns regarding the ultimate ownership of the site, which has been provided through long-term lease rather than by means of being sold to the state. Now, that discussion is going to go nowhere, because if the Sisters of Charity and their lawyers are not going to agree to that, we're going to be here forever and a day, and the Minister will never be able to bring a proposal to government that's going to be clearly saying that the hospital and the land will be in government control, state control and ownership. The reply as well, I think, is a bit insulting. We have always in this House supported the government in relation to the National Maternity Hospital. What we're saying is that it's protracted now. It's gone on too long. And how long more do we have to wait for to agree with legal discussions that are going nowhere? Because the HSE are saying they will not deal with it unless, according to their words, by means of being sold to the state. They're saying that that needs to be done. And the lawyers and Sisters of Charity are saying, no, we're gifting the land to our SVHG, the St Vincent's Healthcare Group. Now, either be honest and say that you don't support that, or do. Because not once in the Minister's reply have I seen that he is in favour, or the government are in favour, of public ownership and public land and St Vincent's Hospital. They talk about clinical needs and all that, but they don't actually say it, even though the government have supported 2 motions previously on this. I think this is the words of Peter Boylan, Dr. Peter Boylan, who resigned from the Old Street Board. The ownership of the land on which the hospital is to be built is the key issue, from which all matters relating to clinical independence from inappropriate religious ethos, protection of the state's investment and appropriate governance flow. The project is stalled because the sisters are refusing to sell the land to the state, even though they said they'd gift it to the state, or the Irish people, I think they put it. And in the absence of ownership of the land, no amount of legal negotiations over years on leases and licences, etc., have been able to provide the state with security on these issues. That's the reality. It's going nowhere unless this is resolved. And furthermore, Peter Boylan says, as you will see in the attached summary, the board of the HSE has expressed grave concerns about the project, and the Controller and Auditor General is currently conducting an audit of the project. We have a new development that paves the way forward for the National Maternity Hospital in a way that will resolve all concerns. The groundbreaking legal opinion commissioned by Uplift and published by Stephen Dodd, Senior Counsel, has concluded that the state could present a compelling case to meet the test to justify a compulsory purchase order on the Elland Park site. Mr. Dodd's legal opinion is that as the hospital being built is a national maternity facility which has been wholly funded by the state has an interest in ownership that substantially outweighs that of the Religious Sisters of Charity and St Vincent's Healthcare Group. Mr Dahl's opinion cuts through the current impasse. He has scrutinised the current proposals and has described them as Byzantine and Kafkaesque. His legal opinion is that the fact that there is a set of labyrinth arrangements have to be devised where the construction and implications of the same are contentious and doubtful is highly unsatisfactory. Considering the importance of the National Maternity Hospital and vast monies being expended by the state, there would seem to be a significant public interest in certainty in relationship to these matters. And he concludes, arguably, the matter is of such importance to the state that there is legitimate state interest in achieving certainty which could only be secured by the state having full control through ownership of the relevant land and assets. Now, again, I'm asking the question where we're going on this. If the state gets the legal briefing in relation to the Department of Health and the Minister in relation to CPO and the site, the sisters would have to agree to it. And if they don't, it'll go into court, obviously, in relation to CPO. But I think then we'd see whether the Sisters of Charity are really being genuine on what they're saying. We need that land. The state needs the land. The women of this country need that land. Because what you don't own, you don't control. It's as simple as that. And if we're still going through the process of legal discussions and legal whatever, the fact of the matter is the land won't be handed over to us unless we demand it. And I'm saying to the Minister and to yourself and the government backbenchers to go to the Minister and argue strongly that we must move to CPO that land. We have, over the last century, had the mother and babies homes, mainly women, treated abysmally. We've had symphysiotomy. We've had the practice of it. And we've had the cervical cancer screen crisis and what that's happened to women. We've had a detailed discussion on how we've lived in this patriarchal society over the last number of years, and yet when it comes to one of the most basic things that we need is a publicly owned, publicly controlled hospital, National Maternity Hospital. We're seeing this call for, what was it? I'd ask the members of the House to support the government in its continued commitment to women's health and progressing the necessary relocation. You know, that's patronising, to be quite honest. And I'm going to end by just saying that the state must move on this, because we can't wait another year, another 2 years, another 3 years. And by moving now to a CPO, we would at least be seeing that we can actually get to the beginning of building a maternity hospital on that site that's in our control and the state's control. Thanks very much, Joan Collins, for chairing the debate. I'm bitterly disappointed with the response, bitterly disappointed the Minister isn't here. And we will keep on, and not just me or anybody in this Dáil chamber, but people out in the streets are going to demand this. So I put you on warning that people won't accept this long-term thing. And I understand that the doctors and nurses in the Hollow Street want to move out of there. It's a building that's ancient, difficult to work in, etc. And they want to move to a modern National Maternity Hospital. But it has to be that that hospital then works under the legal demands of the state. So I'll leave it at that, Joan Collins.